Jai Mahamaya Kiche. In our last discourse, we heard about the description of Mahaprakriti. We'll go on with chapter 2. Narada said, O Lord, I have heard all that you have said of brief about the Devi, about Prakriti Devi. Now describe in detail why the Mula Prakriti Adi Shakti, the prime force, was created in the beginning, before the creation of this world of the five elements. How did she, being of the nature of the three gunas, come to be divided into five parts? I desire to hear all of this in detail. Now kindly describe their auspicious births, method of worship, their meditation, their stotras, their praises, their kovakas, the mystical syllables considered as a preservation like armor, glory and power in detail. Narayana spoke, O Devarsi, the Mula Prakriti of the nature of Maya, of Parabrahman, is an eternal entity, just as the Atman, the celestial space, the Nabu Mandala. Time, Kala, the 10 quarters, the universal egg, the Golaka, and the lower than this, the Vaikuntha Dharma, are all eternal things. Atman and Prakriti are in separable union from each other as fire is and its burning capacity, the moon in her beauty, the lotus its splendor, and the sun her rays are inseparable, united with each other. As the goldsmith cannot prepare golden ornaments without gold, and as the potter cannot make earthen pots out of earth, so the Atman cannot do any work without the help of this omnipotent Prakriti. The letter SA indicates Asvaryan, prosperity, the divine powers, and T denotes might, strength, and inasmuch as she is the bestower of the above two, the Mula Prakriti is named Shakti. Bhaga is indicative of knowledge, prosperity, wealth, fame, and inasmuch as Mula Prakriti has all these powers, she is also called Bhagavati. And Atman is always in union with this Bhagavati, who is all powerful. So he is called Bhagavan. The Bhagavan is therefore sometimes with form, and sometimes he is without form. The yogis always think of the luminous form of the formless Bhagavan and declare him to be all blissful Parabrahma, the God. Though he is invisible, the witness of all, omniscient, the cause of all, the giver of everything and every form, yet the Vaishnavas do not say so. The Vaishnavas declare, how can fire, strength, and energy come when there is no fiery, strong, energetic person behind it? Therefore, he who shines in the center of this fiery sphere is the Parabrahma. He is the fiery person. He is higher than the highest. He is all will. He is all form. The cause of all causes, and his form is very beautiful. He is young. He looks very peaceful and loved by all. He is the highest, and his blue body shines like new rain clouds. His 2 eyes defy the beauty of the autumn lotuses in the midday. His exquisitely nice rows of teeth put all the series of pearls in the dark background. The peacock feather is seen on his crown. The garland of malati flowers is suspended from his neck. His nose is exceedingly beautiful. The sweet smile is always seen on his lips. There is no second like him, and him in showing favor to his bhaktas. He wears yellow clothing as if the burning fire is emanating all around. The flute is seen on both of his hands, reaching his knees. His body is decorated with jewels. He is the sole refuge of this universe, the Lord of all, omnipotent and omnipresent. No trace of deficiency can be seen in him. He is himself a siddha, a perfect Purusha. And the foremost of all the siddhi Purushas bestows siddhis to all. The Vaishnavas meditate always that eternal Sri Krishna, the Devas. He takes away fully all the fears of birth, death, and old age, and all the ills and sorrows. The age of Brahma is the twinkling of his eyes. The highest self, the Parabrahma, is denominated. The word denotes bhakti to Sri Krishna, and the letter na signifies devotion to his service. So he is the bestower of bhakti and devotion to his service. When he desired in the very beginning to create the universe, there was nothing there except Sri Krishna, and at last, impelled by Kal, his own creation, he became ready in his part to do the work of creation. The Lord, who is all willed and divided himself into two parts, his left part becoming female and his right part becoming male. Then the Eternal One, who is greatly loving, looked at the female, his left part, the sole receptacle to hold all the contents of love, very lovely to the eyes and looking like the beautiful lotus. The loins of the woman defy the moon. Her thighs put the plantain trees quite in the background. Her breasts are mistaken for the beautiful bell fruits. Flowers are scattered on her hairs, on her head. Her middle part is very slender, very beautiful to behold, exceedingly lovely appearance, very calm, sweet smile reigning in her lips, sidelong glances with her. Her clothing is purified by fire all over her body, decorated with gems. Her eyes also, like the kakora bird, began to drink incessantly with joy. The moon beams from the face of Sri Krishna, defying, as it were, the 10 millions of moons. On her forehead there was the dot of vermilion, over that dot of white sandal paste, and over that was placed the musk. The fillets or braids of her hair on her head are slightly curved. This was decorated with garlands. On her neck was suspended the necklace of gems and jewels, and she is always very amorous toward her husband. On looking at her face, it seemed that 10 millions of moons have arisen at once. When she walks, her gait puts those of ganders and elephants in the shade. O Muni, the Lord of the Rasa dance, Sri Krishna, and the person of taste in the Rasa sport, looked askance at her for a while, and then catching hold of her by her hand, went to the Rasa Mandalam and began to play the Rasa sport with her. It seemed then the Lord of amorous pastimes had become incarnate there, and had been enjoying the various pleasures of the amorous passions and desires, so much that Brahma's one day passed away in that sport. The Father of the universe, then becoming tired, impregnated in an auspicious moment in her womb, who was born of his left portion. The Prakriti Devi was also tired of the embraces of Sri Krishna, so after that she began to perspire and breathe frequently. Her perspiration turned into water and deluged the whole universe with water, and her breath turned into air and became the life of all the beings. The female that sprung from the left side of Vayu became his wife, and out of their contact originated Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana, and Dhyana, the 5 sons. These are the 5 vital Vayus of all beings. Besides these, from the womb of Vayu's wife came out Naga and the other 4 lower Vayus. The water that came out from the perspiration, Varana Deva, became the presiding deity of that, and the female sprung out of the left side of Varuna Deva became the wife of Varuna, called Varunami. On the other hand, the Shakti of the nature of the knowledge of Sri Krishna remained pregnant for 100 manvantaras, her body becoming effulgent with Brahma Tejas, light. Krishna was her life, and she again was dearer to Krishna than his life even. She remained always with Sri Krishna, so much so that she constantly rested on his breast. When 100 Manvantaras passed away, that beautiful one gave birth to a golden egg. That egg was a repository of the whole universe. The beloved of Krishna became very sorry to see the egg, and out of anger threw that within the water collected in the center of the universe. Seeing this, Sri Krishna raised a great cry and immediately cursed her duly. O angry one, O cruel one, when you have forsaken out of anger this son just born forth of you, I say then that you become from today bereft of any issue. Besides, let all those godly women that will spring out of your parts, they also will be deprived, having any issue of sons. They will remain ever constant in their youth. O Muni, while Sri Krishna was thus cursing, suddenly came out of the tongue of the beloved of Krishna a beautiful daughter of a white color. Her clothing were all white. In her hands there was a lute and book. All her body was decorated with ornaments made of gems and jewels. She was the presiding deity of the sastras. Sometime later, the Mula Prakriti, the beloved of Krishna, divided into two parts. On her left portion came Kamala, and out of her right portion came Radhika. In the meantime, Sri Krishna divided himself into two parts. From his right side appeared a form two-handed, and from his left side a form four-handed. Thus Sri Krishna addressed the goddess of speech, saying, holding the flute in her hand, O Devi, you follow this four-headed person as his wife. And then spoke to Radha, O Radha, you are a sensitive, proud lady. Let your be my wife, so that it will do you good. Sri Krishna also told Lakshmi gladly to become the wife of the four-handed Narayana. Then Narayana, the Lord of the world, took both Lakshmi and Saraswati to the abode of Vaikuntha. O Muni, both Lakshmi and Saraswati became issueless, being born of Radha. From the body of Narayana rose his attendants, all four-handed. They were all equals to him in appearance, in qualifications, in spirit, and in age. On the other hand, from the body of Kamala arose millions and millions of female attendants, all equal to her in form and qualification. Then arose innumerable gopas, cowherders from the pores of Sri Krishna. They were all equal to the Lord of Golaka in form, gunas, power, and age. They were all dear to him as that they were his own life. From the pores of Radhika came out the gopa, the cowherdesses. They were all the gopis. They were all equal to Radha, and all were her attendants and were sweet-speaking. Their bodies were all decorated with ornaments and jewels, and they were constantly youthful. They were all issues of as Sri Krishna cursed them thus, O best of Brahmanas. On the other hand, suddenly arose Durga, the Maya of Vishnu, the highest self, eternal, and whose body was Krishna. She is Narayana. She is Isani. She is the Shakti of all, and she is the presiding deity of intelligence of Sri Krishna. From her came out many other deities. She is Mula Prakriti, and she is Ishvati. No failings or insufficiencies are seen in her. She is the Tejas of the nature of fire, and she is the nature of the three gunas. Her color is bright like the molten gold. Her luster looks as if 10 millions of suns have sinew instantaneously arising. She looks gracious always with sweet smile in her face. Her hands are 1,000 in number. Various weapons are in her hands. The clothing of her, the three-eyed one, are bright and purified by fire. She is decorated with ornaments, all of jewels. All of the women who are the jewels are sprung from her parts, and parts of parts, and by the power of her Maya, all the people of the world are enchanted. She bestows all the wealth that a householder wants. She bestows on Krishna's devotees the devotion toward Krishna. Nay, she is the Vaishnavi Shakti of Vaishnavas. She gives final liberation to those who want such, and gives happiness to those who want happiness. She is the Lakshmi of the heavens, as well as she is the Lakshmi of every household. She is the tapas of ascetics, the beauty of the kingdoms of the kings, the burning power of fire, the brilliancy of sun, the tender beauty of the moon, the lovely beauty of the lotus, and the Shakti of Sri Krishna, the highest self. The self, the world are all powerful by her Shakti. Without her, everything would be dreary, dead mass. O Narada, she is the seed of this tree of worlds. She is eternal. She is the stay. She is intelligence, fruit, hunger, thirst, mercy, sleep, drowsiness, forgiveness, fortitude, peace, bashfulness, nourishment, contentment, and luster. The Mula Prakriti, praising Sri Krishna, stood before him. The Lord of Radhika then gazed at her, gave her a throne to sit. O great Muni, at the moment sprang from the navel lotus the four-faced Brahma with his wife Savitri, an exceedingly beautiful woman. No sooner the four-faced Brahma, the foremost of the yanas, fond of asceticism and holding Kamandalu in his hand, came into being, then he began to praise Sri Krishna by his four mouths. On the other hand, the Devi Savitri, with the beauty of 100 moons, born with great ease, wearing apparel purified by fire and decorated with various ornaments, praised Krishna. The one and only cause of the universe then took her seat gladly with her husband in the throne made of jewels. At that time, Krishna divided himself into two parts. His left side turned into the form of Mahadeva, and his right side turned into Lord of Gopikas, the cow herdesses. The color and splendor of the body of Mahadeva is pure white like white crystal, as if 100 suns have arisen simultaneously. In his hands there are the trident, the sharp-edged spear. His wearing is a tiger's skin. On his hands matted hair, jata of a tawny hue like a molten gold. His body was besmeared all over with ashes, smile raining in his face, and on his forehead the semi-moon. He was wearing on his, he was not wearing anything on his loins. So he is called Digambara, the quarters of the sky being his clothing. His neck is of a dark blue color, the serpent being the ornament on his body, and on his right hands the nice beads of jewels well purified. Who is always repeating with his 5 faces the eternal light of Brahma, and who has conquered death by praising God. Who is the nature of truth, the highest self, the God incarnate, the material cause of all things, and the all-auspicious of all that is good and favorable, and the destroyer of the fear of birth, death, old age, and disease, and who has been named Mitrajaya, the conqueror of death. This Mahadeva took his seat on a throne made of jewels, diamonds, emeralds, etc. Here ends the 2nd chapter, the 9th book on the origin of Prakriti and Purusa, and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.